I call the meeting to order, March 20th, and about 7 o'clock. The financial meeting. So, let's see. Can we please stand for the pledge of allegiance? Union flag of the United States of America. And to the republic for the nation, one nation. For further business, audience of citizens. You don't have any.
We are, it's town meetings.
What's that?
Want me to read the rules?
You can do that.
Okay. Rules of conduct for a hybrid virtual meeting. This is a web-based call. We'll be operating on the following procedures. This session is being both video and audio recorded. Commissioners and staff will generally remain on mute except when speaking or voting, and will generally be kept the video on themselves throughout the meeting. Wait a minute, let me first let Osborne in. Video on themselves throughout the meeting. If a member of the public creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon recommendation of staff or the chair. For public input before the meeting, please email your comments to publicinput@columbiacp.org within 24 hours before the meeting.
All right, go back to number 4. Audience of citizens. Any correspondences?
We have not received them.
Okay, having none, we'll move on. To number 5. When are we going to do that? FiPAC regular meeting minutes. January 17th. We have a second. All in favor? Any abstentions? Suggestions? Okay. Objections? Hearing none. Motion carries. Number 6, strike board meeting minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none. I move we approve the. Do we approve that with the strike board? Do we have to approve the strike board meeting?
No.
No.
That's the board of selectmen meeting.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, old business. Update for the HVAC. Forest Point.
The HVAC committee has a meeting with the attendant for a representative board. They are going to be starting moving forward with an RFP for a project manager. They're going to be poking a little bit the company that we've contracted with to get documents ready to do that. I was not in attendance. I had an emergency Monday. That was what the gist of it was. We're ready to move forward with the general manager. And the board will vote on that and then move forward with that. So hopefully the project will get up to bid next month.
A general manager or a project? Any questions? No. What's the status of the grant?
The grant, that actually called the state and we won't have until April.
Maybe in April,
Maybe April.
Data on capital culverts in a way.
Board of selectmen last night are putting together a culvert review committee based on volunteers within town that have engineering and water background. And that'll be a committee including Beth Lunt, the public works director, and myself. First selectman Steve Everett, keep going, very well, and, we're also going to talk to our engineer on, that we have as our town engineering firm right now, and we'll also, consider putting out for request for qualifications if, we deem it prudent to look at possibly other engineering firms as well, based on the magnitude of what we need to undertake over the next, it's really the next decade, but how can we tackle everything that needs to be done? I think we need to quantify and qualify everything and see how we could do it bit by bit or piece by piece. It's just huge.
Is there going to be any kind of government money that's gonna go through this?
What kind of money?
You mentioned last time about Senator Murphy's reaching out to Senator Murphy's office.
We have not received any pathways to get it.
Okay, any other questions? All right, let's move on to, new business. Ed, you want to give us an overview of the document?
Yeah, in your packet, there's like, it's like a big table of contents, it's kind of, where you can find certain things in the budget document. I'm doing this, an overview, which is the memo, summary, where all the budgets like putting down the departments and other codes. Then there's the next two sections, the details of the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education expenditures that are being proposed. Another section is just about all the revenues that we predicted that we're going to be getting next year. And then you'll have another section showing all the Board of Ed grants that we're budgeting for. And then it'll be capital, and then there's like a general fund, capital reserve fund, kind of just showing where capital debt will be predicted to be next year. And then there's the town grants that they give out to various organizations. And then the last two pages has to do with estimating the fund balance for end of this year and into next year. That's what calculates the mill rate page. So that's just the reference. So when you want to go through and not have to keep flipping, you can kind of matches up to the page numbers. So, okay.
All right, okay, now we're getting to the budget workshop and the presentation of the proposed budget for this week.
And then, and get rid of this now. Not yet. No, and. Okay, with that, how do we get to this bar, which is blocking, I have the shared screen. It's this bar that's in my way.
Yeah, and Rachel, can you see the screen or not? Do they see it?
Might be able to minimize it, like minimize it so the screen's smaller.
No? Yeah, there we go. Hold on, now slideshow, start with first slide. Okay. Ready, Barbara?
Project Board of Education proposed budget for the 2024-25 school year. I'm sorry.
Next slide.
Sit down now, or you just make the note. I'd like to start off by recognizing the Board of Ed. On behalf of school personnel, we thank them, just like you folks, for volunteers. Chairperson Mike Nazier, Vice Chairperson Christine Zito, Stefania, I had it written down too. I was ready, and then I got Lauren Haberman, who's not here today, Leah Osborne, who's on the screen, Rachel Rambo, all here. Next. The Columbia administrative team. Unfortunately, everybody had something to do with their own children tonight for an award, so they could not join us. We thank Scott Leslie. He is our interim assistant superintendent through the rest of this year. Kara Lewandowski is our principal, and Karen Caputo is our assistant principal. I feel as if we should have a pseudo board member, business manager, Bev, because without Beverly Carrillo, we depend on her for our budget. Next. I'd like to start off with a message. I think it's an important message. We are committed to providing an exceptional learning experience for every student within our district. We do so by keeping fiscal responsibility in mind and ensuring efficient, effective use of our budgetary resources. We believe in transparency and accountability. Transparency builds trust and confidence among stakeholders. We present to you a clear and open presentation of the district's financial information, demonstrating our honesty and our credibility. Strategic planning involves setting long-term goals and objectives and developing a roadmap to achieve those. We seek to improve instruction continually, best practice, as well as state and federal mandates around teaching and learning continue to change and evolve. Additionally, our capital projects, as you'll see later, are not what we want, they are what we need. We seek to be efficient with resources and determine out-of-the-box solutions. We always seek any available grant opportunities to assist with the budget as well. The Board of Ed also continually seeks community members' input through multiple opportunities, including involvement in the audience comments at Board of Ed meetings. Our website has a Q&A section that is checked at least weekly to respond to, as well as email and phone calls. Next slide. So following will be this is our 2024-25 budget proposal. Next slide. So you'll see we are proposing a $14,616,082 budget for the next school year, which is a $748,000 increase over what was budgeted last year. The town would be appropriate after we have $306,000 in our available grants. The town appropriation would be $14,309,695, or a $694,933 increase at a 5.1%. Next slide.
Do we have to wait till the end, or can we just ask quick questions?
But you can ask me anything.
So one way or another, I'll get an answer. Can you turn that back? Those grants, are they? Less grants, are they actual grants that are awarded, or what you hope to get?
Those are awarded.
Awarded.
I'd like to get more. All right, next, the breakdown of our budget, you'll see salaries alone make up over 7 million, up from 6.8, which is up almost $200,000 or $190,000. Our benefits are again up. I think it's interesting that the percent change doesn't really paint the picture, does it? Because 2.8% doesn't sound like that much of an increase, but yeah, it is almost $200,000. Professional services have gone up. I'll get more into these as we go on. Our property services has slightly decreased. Purchase services has also risen quite a bit. We have supplies and our equipment and other. And the next slide. So these are the grants that are guaranteed right now. We have title grants that we always get, Title I, Title II, Title III for various state grants. The IDEA grants, the state awards them to us, but it's a federal program. So this year, typically they stay kind of the same. This year they've gone up a little bit, which is good news. Our REAP grant is a rural education grant that we will definitely get. These ARPA grants are guaranteed just for this year. They may, many of them may go away. And then other little piddly things that didn't make much of a change. Next. So summary of changes, salaries. All certified staff had their contracts renegotiated this year. So the contracts are good for 3 years. The goal of the contract is to retain qualified staff, as well as make them comparable to the area, as well as a DERB fee, which is what they compare us to across the state. Our non-certified salaries and non-certified folks include paraprofessionals, behavior therapists, registered behavior technicians, administrative assistants, our facilities technicians, they are in the middle of negotiating their contract. So we have proposed an increase on their side as well. Again, we're focused on retaining, skilled employees. The benefits have the normal, increases in insurances. Next. Professional services. I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about this. Although it's an increase of $153,000, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and CBA contract. BCBA stands for Board Certified Behavior Analyst. For all three of those contracts, we use EastCon, which is our rep. By having those services in our school, we save a lot of money on outplacement. The behavior person, we keep students with us, we don't have to send them out. So it's money well spent. It serves, all those folks serve more than just a handful of kids. An occupational therapist consults with teachers. She, the woman, works with our kindergarten staff on things such as pencil grip. If a kid is too distracted by something, she can give solutions and ideas for that. Physical therapists work with our gym teachers in addition to their own caseload, and the BCBA can also give teachers some consultation services in addition to their caseload. Next. We have a slight.
Yeah, didn't you, in a couple budgets ago, have a position for a full-time behaviorist or
Yes,
whatever?
we did, and we could not fill it, so we had, so
We outsourced it instead of that?
yeah, we could not.
And is this with the same budget line, basically?
Right, I tried to do it. No, if I was able to find folks for that position, it would have saved money because it's not, you're not contracting with any business, but I could not.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Slight changes in property services, nothing really remarkable. Next. Purchase services, there's an increase in our tuition lines for our high school and an increase in the student transportation lines that you'll see. And they went, as you can see, quite a bit, the tuition lines and the transportation lines. Now, I gave you a visual here. The blue and the orange are salaries and benefits, and professional purchase services. The 19%, which is other. I want you to realize that still is some required supplies and curriculum, but I thought it was an interesting visual that so much of it is just on salaries, benefits, and our purchase services. Next. Special education makes up a little over a quarter, if you look at it that way and you pull information out. So that encompasses speech language pathologist salary, special education teachers. I thought that was an interesting visual for you to see as well. All right. So I think it's also important to show you where we began. 5.1 is a significant increase to ask the town for. However, we have cut. We originally started at a much higher percentage. And I have to say the Board of Education and the administration worked very hard to get it to where it is. The following areas we did cut out or reduce or eliminate events, software, website maintenance, equipment, furniture. I can read from here. Curriculum hours, conferences, etc. All right. And so what does that mean by cutting those? Next. For various field trips. Since it's post-COVID, a lot of parents are wanting us to get back to normalcy. They want the field trips back. They want the assemblies and the all school events. So some of the field trips will need to be cut or were cut. We talked about parents can fundraise for some of them or pay, or parents can pay. Assemblies, we just cut out almost all assemblies that would cost money. The assemblies we can do, we can be creative and then have our own like chorus perform for the students from assembly. Anything that we could cut off in the software department that wasn't absolutely required was cut. our web manager, we are putting on hold. We're not gonna employ that person. Next year, our website will stay the same. There were a lot of requests for new furniture for the art room, for the main office, the other classrooms that can't be done this year. Our music program wanted to purchase many new instruments. We can't do that. Sporting equipment and most curriculum writing work, which is a lot of the stuff that the teachers do over the summer to get curriculum going, where only the ELA will be authorized this year. And then any outside professional conference cannot be funded unless, of course, it's mandated through their contracts. The capital budget. Again, I remember earlier in the presentation, it's not what we want, what we need. The kitchen appliances, they have to be functional. And I think they're on their last leg, the ovens and the dishwasher. Mike Sylvester is very, very invaluable because he fixes a lot of stuff and he's ordered parts and whatnot. They're not, the next time they'll probably have to at least replace the roof. We have drainage projects. Originally that number was much higher, but we're gonna partner with the town and Beth to work on, there's some drainage issues out on the playground and in the walkway going right behind where Beth's offices. So the town can help us with that. We have to install a fence between the school property as well as and Dartmouth Village. Originally, we had gotten a quote for like 20,000 and Mike was able to find a reputable company and recently got a quote for 9,000. Taking out those other capital projects, we're looking at a $24,510 increase. Look, if those have been do that on mine. So, does anyone have any questions or?
I do. Okay, way back when you talked about contract negotiations that are now ongoing, when will that increase hit?
It's in it. Negotiated contracts and salaries are already part.
Oh, I thought you said some were ongoing.
One of them is actually totally.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So there's one contract that's still ongoing. We kind of put in a projected amount. It's not been set in stone because we're still negotiating. So it's
Is that one person or one group?
whole group,
So it could go up.
How many people in that group?
not certified.
How many? I anticipate that we budgeted correctly. Pretty confident.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Right, looking at enrollment, Horace Porter, I'm looking at the percent change you see is from 3 years ago. So in 2020-21, we have 401 students and we have gained 76 students, which is almost a 20% increase in students. You'll see high school has decreased over 3 years, down 25%, yet the tuition has gone up and continues to go up. So and then we have others, those are outplacements, magnet schools.
Question about enrollment.
Yeah,
When does our contract end with the high schools?
we're midway through. I think we have about 5 or 6 years left.
Is it worth considering phasing out Bolton? I mean, obviously the numbers are going down and down and down, and it costs us money to send them there versus, I'm assuming the cost is the same with EO Smith, but the transportation.
So the board actually at the last Board of Education meeting asked that I get a survey out to all families about high school choice, which is being worked on. So we'll see what.
Because I mean, if you're gonna phase it out, you kind of need people to know 4 years in advance.
Right. Exactly.
What we usually, or I would say in the past, like with Lebanon, even if the contract ends, it was like a legacy thing where your kid finished out there anyway. And also, from what I recall, Bolton was always a little less expensive than, it would actually.
But if we do legacy, do we still have to provide transportation?
Yeah.
I do know that there was in fact some discussion about this on the green.
It's still a second route for transportation and stuff.
Right, I just wanted to
So
know.
there'll be future discussions at the Board of Ed coming up after the results of the survey come in. I'll be sure to share when the survey is live with Mark, so he can share with you folks. So. All right, there we are. Enrollment. We are projecting 3 classes for pretty much every group. Preschool is 2 teachers because one class is a full day class and then one teacher does a half day morning, a half day PM. The only, I guess oddball, if you will, next year's 2nd grade will be 4 sections. All right.
And is the change in the kindergarten age, is that impacting us, or we're gonna have a large influx next year?
It's hard to say at this point. We do have families who have opted to try to obtain the waiver to send their children. So we'll know. Because they're coming in next Friday or next Friday.
So you should know this year whether a bunch of kids that would have enrolled this year coming up will end up being in following years.
We do have some numbers because they get to stay in pre-K longer, so we do have several that will be staying in pre-K another year because then they're not eligible. All right, next,
So I guess, so the class sizes are 11 or 12 kids in a class?
this is the projection.
You said you had no, but I'm looking right there. It says 11 or 12.
I was answering a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can't.
So yeah,
And then 13 kids in a class.
that is pretty much the norm for around here, right? And, yeah,
Around here?
from grade 3 and under, but if you check with Andover, Heber and Mansfield, those are typical class sizes. When you have a class size of 18 or 19, then you're putting extra staff in the room. Okay. The personnel, that was for Jam Day. We have, for next year, we haven't made many changes at all. We will see everything's pretty much staying the same. Where we went down was an RBT that's, our higher salary than paraprofessionals. We were able to reduce RBTs by 1, and increase paraprofessionals. It's not a huge saving, but pretty much we're proposing keeping staffing as is. Next. This is an interesting slide. Many of you know that contracts for teachers as well as non-certified staff has a progression of steps. So you're a teacher, you graduate UConn, you start your job, you're on step 1, bachelor's degree 1. Next year you move up to step 2. Then next year you move up to step 3, but then you also move over because now you might have your master's degree. And it's progressive like that for both contracts. 75% of our certified staff at Porter and 70% of our non-cert are at the absolute highest step. So they, we're paying them a lot, which they deserve. But I think that's just notable that we don't have very few people on lower steps nor mid steps. They're mostly at the top step. And that is it. Thank you. I welcome any questions, comments?
Okay, 2 questions. So you said, there are several grants you're still applying for that haven't come in yet, that you don't have baked in yet. How much is that?
So I don't know yet. I can't project that because right now there's none that I haven't applied for that we're waiting on, but sometimes competitive grants come forward. So Bev and I continually check that there's a system you go into to see what is available. Competitive grants we have competed for, we've won some and we haven't won.
Well, I know Hartford's talking about wanting to fund more things out to the quiet corner and work part of content.
So
They don't that were neglected, and I didn't know if.
Bolton does do that school choice. We have not entertained that at this time.
The other thing was, I noticed here the class sizes on the pre-K, K, 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade are all 13, 14, all over 4th grade, but then it immediately jumps 5th grade up to like 19, almost 20 per class.
Which is middle school, which is typical.
Okay.
Yeah, that's usually what you see.
Are we expecting a growth, an increase at the bottom end next year?
as far as.
Like as far as years, I mean, so like, are we gonna see the class sizes in pre-K going forward balloon?
Well, right, that's a hard one to pre-KK right now because of that change, but typically you can look at K, like, or first grade at 35. We would expect 3 sections of second grade that following year with that group of kids moving up.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I'm saying, like, it looked like there's like a steady flow, it drops off, is it like, why is there like this big top heavy section compared to the bottom, or is that just kind of? Are we expecting the next, are you expecting more students in the, pre-K?
I can tell you, we have, about 40 pre-K students, signed up for the lottery with about 6 slots open, 10 slots open. So
Okay.
there are a bunch, but it's hard. The pre-K also consists of 3 and 4-year-olds who won't all be in kindergarten together.
But, I mean, we talk about our population is growing, but I think what Art is saying is the kindergarten and first grade are in the mid-30s. All the other classes are in the 50s. Are there just fewer births in town? I mean, do we have any idea why?
We've had a lot of move-ins.
Other daycares and preschools though too, that the kids go to.
We have this year had a lot of move-ins to different grades.
So we don't really know who that is. It's not like it's necessarily a trend that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, like, at school, it basically after 8th grade. Once this batch of students from 5th grade go through the 8th grade, are we gonna see a drop off in
Potentially. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. So when I looked at the enrollment chart, and high school shows both EO,
Mhm.
and it said right now there's 151 students. Those are you only list the ones who pay tuition, so if there's kids that or whatever, they're not in that.
So we're not listing them. We don't take tuition.
So that 151 that we do show, what's the real number of our students in high school roughly? Like, do you know a rough percent that go to that?
I can tell you, like last year, 9 went to TAC. This year we're proposing, I think, 7 to go to TAC.
So I mean, that 151 is really about what in the 160 total. So I guess my question would be then looking at the middle school, if we were to lump 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th together, that's a 4-year, like a high school group.
Mhm.
When we add that up, that's 220 kids. Like if they're all 50. So when we look in a couple of years down the road, we're looking at paying tuition from 151 kids, we could go up to, let's say we take 20 off from tech, we could be 200, 205 kids in the high school system we're paying tuition.
There are other things, you know.
What it was like about 11, 12 grand per kid.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 10 years from the high school program.
So, yeah, and I think it is noteworthy that we have a decrease in our high school students that are tuition line, that's gone up quite a bit.
And if you
And
add
it's
another
all-
40 to that, it could just by the nature of these kids moving on.
Another $500,000.
Well, whatever it is, right?
About $500,000. Do we have anybody from the tech schools coming in and doing seminars or talks and stuff? Because I've had a plumber out to my house to say hello, Mr. Everett. I had to write him a check for $200. They can make a good living. I mean, do we have people come in and talk?
We started 8th grade, they revamped what the 8th grade, high school night. And Corey Polakowski, who's our school counselor, heads that, and she's invited, Tech as well as all our sending high schools, and she's invited if private high schools want to come for families to look at it as well.
Tech also puts a cap on how many kids you'll take from each district. So it's not ever just in our hands, like they'll say, okay, we're only taking 10 from Columbia this year or something like that.
Well, I think I get some plumbers to do homeschool. My dear.
The increase in, salaries, that's only raises, you're not increasing head count, correct? I didn't see any
No.
increase on your.
But again, somebody moves in with a unique need, I can't say that a headcount wouldn't increase. It's not proposed to increase. I don't anticipate it increasing. I don't know of any reason to have it increase right now.
Another question, I think it comes from past experience, so that slide that showed budget breakdown, that pie chart.
Mhm.
And it was, between salaries, benefits, services. The one, I think it was one right before that. Yeah, so. I know what you were saying, I think, so the 22 and 59% basically are fixed costs. And even of the 19, you said there were some that are necessary.
Most of the
But-
19 is fixed. as
But
well.
like that's an annual thing with us is what wiggle room we might have comes out of the 19. And like you were saying, like, I know, I guess you said you've already gone really lean with everything, but I was always thinking of the high school tuition and the benefits and pay, there's so much, and transportation is so fixed.
Correct.
Any other questions? Barbara, thank you so much for your presentation. Mark, they got turn it over to you now. In the top. Work on that and
Beverly take over the control.
that's sure.
All right, I'd like to, thank the Board of Selectmen for being so involved in this budget process. Stephen Evers, our first selectman, Christopher Lynn, William O'Brien, Hugh Ortiz is our deputy selectman, and Lisa Napolitano. Beverly Cirillo, our finance director, is sent here as well as our executive assistant, benefit of the board. Thank you. One. No, it's not really, it's just. A roll button. Remind, so that. Yeah, I don't know why that goes on. So right now, I'll discuss the 24-25 proposed revenues for, Town of Columbia. Right now, we're looking at taxes, predicting an increase of 15%, mainly due to refunds, increased interest, delinquent funds, being collected. So another 15,000, licensing and permits, just the permits, still very popular. And, real estate, permits for, everything happening in, transfer of real estate within the town. The intergovernmental revenue is also up, intergovernmental, which use a pointer to show the main factors right down there in the pink. So the intergovernmental is mainly due to an increase of 75,000 coming in for ECF grant, the Board of Ed. Special ed's down 37,000 and LoSIP reimbursements up 57,000. The component of LoSIP is that it's an entitlement grant. The town has opted to hold off on that revenue being spent this year, just so we don't have a negative in that revenue, and we'll probably spend it next year. So it accumulates every year. So the we have 155,000 in that fund right now. The extra 57,000 will bring us up to 213,000. We'll probably spend it on engineering, which could be a big cost coming up, but we'll need it for next year. So intergovernmental's up by 97,000. Changes in services, it's down 1,700. Interest, we're predicting that the interest on our investments will continue to stay about where it is, giving us an extra 40,000. And town fees, we had an increase in our Casella contract for waste removal from the town. So the Board of Selectmen have increased the transfer station stickers to $50, 60 and 30, 16.30. So that'll be an increase in 37,000 to help offset the, I think it's $43,000 increase in the Casella contract. And so the net effect is really 96. Well, that was for the notice, it was $203,000 predicted increase in our revenue, 6.48%. There you go. So some of the operating budget key factors, there's 3 of them. We're completing the second year of the Board of Ed town with the state of Connecticut partnership plan for health insurance. And we're projecting an increase in those premiums of 2%. The town has opted to increase the employee contribution by 1% this year. Help offset that increase. The town staff changes. It was presented to the Board of Selectmen that a additional highway maintainer is needed with all these huge projects that we're facing. We felt that we could reduce the total outlay of using subcontractors with a lot of this drainage work if we had a 5th skilled highway maintainer. It's needed because you need really a full crew for both highway flagging and road work and meaning all the equipment for excavating and laying pipe and doing the drainage work. Plus everything else we do, all the landscaping and mowing, snow plowing. So there's an extra highway maintainer in this budget, but it's partially offset by we removed 2 Department of Public Works seasonal employees. We've just been having such a hard time. Normally younger employees that take those starting positions, but they require a lot of hard work and they start and so it's been quite a challenge. Fuel costs, we just renegotiated our fuel contracts for both diesel, gas, and diesel, gas, and fuel. So the new contract will bring us out to November. We've locked in, actually it's, November 2024. So
The new contract.
the new contract will actually expire July or June 30th of 2025.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get on a fiscal calendar. Our old contract was not fiscal, so it was making it difficult. So we'll extend it out and we predict about an $8,000 savings there. Next slide. Some of the notable increases and decreases in the operating budget. Salaries right now are up 216,000, and that accounts for the Department of Public Works additional maintainer, cost of living COLA, some staff adjustments, stay competitive, with surrounding towns. And extra facilities cleaning person part-time. We've added quite a few bathrooms and another whole DPW office building that we didn't have before, so we needed another part-time person for that. And early voting has added $20,000 to our salary line for staffing all these extra days that they'll be in Yeoman's Hall waiting for you to come in and vote. The benefits, as a result of the increase in these salaries, will be an extra $27,000 for payroll taxes. The health insurance is actually down, even though there was a 2% increase. It's down because of the changes in enrollment, staffing going from family plans down to 2-person plans or single plans. So the actual reduction is 23,000. The senior center is saving money. Our med car is paid off. We don't have that $7,000 a year in lease payment. The firefighting emergency services budget, they requested an increase of $3,850 for a lot of different reasons. Some of it are extra volunteer costs of training and rollout gear that the fire department needs. Public Works is needing more money for repair and maintenance. Our fleet of vehicles, we're having a lot of trouble due to supply chain issues of getting new equipment. We've had a dump truck on order for 2 years. The chassis in theory will be in maybe next month. And then we still have to get a body. But the extra maintenance cost is actually 21,000 to keep all equipment running. Waste management, the Casella contract is up 42,000. Facilities and maintenance. A lot of this $11,000 increase in facilities maintenance is due to renewed fire alarm contracts, security contracts, HVAC contracts, and fire extinguisher maintenance on all our facilities. So we've upgraded a lot of our services, but the costs of all those have gone up. The library services actually has a reduction in their grant request of $2,499. And so the net increases in is 323,000 and decreases 32,000, or overall $324,000, 316 in an increase, which is 6.45%. In the area of capital appropriation. No, that we go. No. Capital. So road resurfacing, we have a reduction of $184,750 in road paving and medians, partially due to, instead of totally reclaiming any roads in this budget, we're going to try, we have some funding from last year and this year, a new chip seal surface application that's supposed to extend the life of not a highly traveled road. So we're gonna try with some of our back roads and see if we can get some more years out of it. So that's resulting in a savings for this budget. Box culvert repair, we have a reduction of 100,000. Mainly, we kept 100,000 in the budget for engineering fees. Reval, no change at all. We put in 10,000. And DPW capital equipment, we need a new dump truck. We have to get another dump truck in order. While we're still waiting for the last dump truck we have in order. So that'll be a $274,000 request. Building improvements, we actually have a reduction in that line item, but the 9,000 is needed to continue to fund HVAC fund that we can keep to maintain all our HVAC equipment. The dam mitigation repair, we'll continue to put 5,000 a year in that until we can finally repair and replace the gate at our dam. That's going back out on bid. We went out to bid once, we have to go out back out again. We only have one vendor, and we weren't satisfied with the bid. Senior center capital equipment, it's only just down 9,000, and they're trying to get some touchless dispensers in the bathrooms, so that increase sanitation. Hazardous tree removal is also down 25,000. We've gone down from the normal 100,000 a year we've been at to 75,000. And marine patrol, we have to start a fund. We're going to have to replace a marine patrol boat within a few years, hopefully not sooner. And we're going to start with a $10,000 fund. The fire department also reduced their request from the previous year by 50,000. Sticking to a long range plan. A lot of that is because they received a very large grant of 250,000 for the new forestry vehicles, so that was able to come out of their long range request. So the total, we were at $1,270,000. We're now down to $1,005,820, and that's comparable 2023-24 to what our request is. But there's a side note that we did add 250,000 from the general fund in the 23-24 capital appropriation, and that was to get a jump start on a lot of the engineering for culvert replacement. So that's in the process of being spent right now. So
About that.
So revolving culvert replacement immediate is the fact that we moved some of it into this year, why didn't it decrease? If I vote for product to do that, for proposing less for next year.
Less in the actual culvert line.
Yeah.
Right now, we have the new subcommittee and we're gonna be evaluating, do we wanna try to put a lot of these out all at once and tie into the bond if the HVAC grant becomes successful with the town? Steve, you want?
And because we took 250,000 out of this year's budget to get a head start on it. So, you're hitting a lot of areas for needs now, but that will continue for many years.
So the proposed appropriations, right now we have the Board of Selectmen, a $324,360, 6.45% increase request. Capital is actually gone down, negative 1.39, combining with Board of Ed. Contingency is holding steady at 78,000. Our dog fund has gone up a little due to some increased wages required in the contract we have with East Haddam for sharing services. And the internal services still steady 25,000. Second farm stayed the same, and so did recreation fund. So total, we're looking at for appropriations is an increase of $1,884,000 or 5.08% increase. This is the capital pie chart of the entire budget. Going board selectmen 25.7, Board of Ed at 68.6% of the budget, capital at 4.9. And other stuff. And right now, mill rate is at 25.91. With this proposed increase of 3.5 mils, would be at 29.41. We also have to factor in the grand list. The 2020 grand list went down 0.2%. And then doing a market value of $350,000 property with assessed value of $245,000. Property taxes of 23-24 fiscal year were $6,347.50. Back at the 25.91 mill rate, it increases to 29.41. That same property would be taxed at $7,205.45 or $857.95 increase. These are your mill rates. 2015-16 to 2023-24, and I'm available for questions.
That last figure you gave that per household per year, what was it, 8,000?
So,
So that's definitely.
It was $857.
$807 increase in taxation with that mill rate increase.
Yeah.
That exactly same.
Okay, I just figured that in my head.
You mentioned the bond several times. Do you anticipate being in a position where we would have a bond taken out prior to June of 25?
I don't think so.
Well,
I don't think you get to yet.
Maybe not.
if we have a catastrophic event that wipes out a couple of culverts, then yes, we probably, in an emergency, we would have to, because we don't have enough of a. It would be difficult. We would drain our general fund immensely, and then so to get it in place for before June or July of 25, probably not. You're right.
There's probably a short-term finance.
Well, I'm saying there's no budget line item,
Yeah,
a contingency for bonding expense or anything like that. And we also talked about one for the HVAC, correct? Like,
That's
what,
right.
7 million, and we're hoping that we get some percentage of it funded, and so that might.
I'd like to explore that more, like, when is that gonna happen? Is that gonna be in this budget year, or are they gonna defer getting the bond on that until a year later?
my guess is they're probably gonna if we're given the grant, my guess is we're moving ahead with it.
Right.
So you're right.
There should be a budget line on it. But should agency group bond interest.
I would think that since this is such an unknown, that we would have to make sure that we're leaving some money in the general fund to help cover this. If we don't have enough in the general fund at the moment, then the town will have to look for some short-term financing to get the project going and moving forward, so we can figure out funding.
I'm not comfortable proceeding with a budget if there's gonna be this unknown bogey out there that could very well come up.
Well,
It almost certainly will. And do we know if we don't get the grant, if we're still going forward with it?
it'll have to go back to the town, or vote for the town, because we voted on, if we don't get the grant. Yeah, we did.
I'm just thinking, if
If I had-
quarter of the percent, no. You put it in. And
A
then,
quarter of a percent?
well, for one portion of it. 0.5%, what's the 3 million, what would that represent in a mill rate? I mean,
Well. 3 million. Yeah, we won't be 3 million.
1 million, like, 180,000.
Yeah, so we got it.
So you're talking about,
Yeah.
well, 5 or 6 million.
Oh,
You know, how
paying it back over time, we're looking at. Yeah, a half a mil. Per year, per- Hey. What?
We're still waiting for the plan, right? Maybe
we're RFP, you got an RFP open, you gotta wait for the grant. We don't even know exactly how much it's gonna be.
But we won't vote on this budget.
Thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah, there's certainly there's a lot of variables in this whole thing. You know, I would say I wouldn't touch the general fund to downsize this in any way, shape or form. In my opinion, because the need for use during the general fund for this next fiscal year is so up in the air, questionable. I want everything kind of held. Because you don't know.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, you don't know.
It's the elephant in the room.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, honestly, we've been putting money away for different things, and if we needed to do some, yeah, juggling a little bit here and there, we probably could, I don't know if we come up with $3 million, but we're certainly not coming up with 6. We don't have that,
Right,
but,
and you don't want to deplete the general fund.
right. I mean, I thought about that and I didn't. My fault, I didn't say anything about it, but where are we coming up with our financing for the HVAC? I know it's not only $350,000 a year payment over 20 years, but yeah, so that's the question.
What would have to be voted on by the town, and that's get in the general fund, for short-term financing, money and apply for bond.
Gives us a lot to think about. Totally. Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank you for your presentation, Mark. And anybody have any other questions before we sit here and try and rack our brains and figure out how we're gonna build a better mousetrap? Yeah.
Sorry. Deb, do we have any estimate of how much might be coming back at the end of this year?
Not yet. Well, I think the board can definitely the board of ed, there's been some changes again, so give a number out.
Third meeting.
Okay. I know that the revenue's coming in good, we've got some approved, like a couple $100,000, but collections are probably gonna be about 90%, so, but we're not also many for local, so it's 3%, so I'll see what I can come up with.
All right, anything else? Shall we move on to transfers?
Well, just so everybody knows, in the packet of the grand list report, just showing, that just gives you more detail of what was impacted, that we had, over $1 million decrease in the grand list. Makes up the -20.3% decrease. There's also a copy of the minimum budget requirement report that was given out also to prior board meetings, which kind of show you what the state felt with, it's kind of reviewed the budget and saying where they're at minimum budget requirement, but we were fine with it because we actually increased the budget this year, so we're all compliant, so this is kind of is a guidance, but every year when they calculate it, they're looking at about a 5-year average in enrollment, and right now, the last couple of years, the high school enrollment went up, quarter went up, so any credits that we've gotten are probably not there for next year. So just kind of that if you think, you know, what they said here is not really cast in stone for future. So. And then I guess you're probably just second item if you have any. Prior to finish.
That's another day. Yeah, at the bottom. All right, I think we're gonna move to the transfers and then. All right, other discussion. Yep. I don't know, like the meeting over so we could, finance can get together and we can figure out. We're not here, heads together. All right. So let's get the transfers done and then,
Okay.
FiPAC will have a little discussion.
Okay.
That's another one. I just gave him. Okay. Yeah.
Just review questions.
Sure.
Okay, so the first one is these are all transfers of contingency, first one is going to the facility professional tech line, we had some, unanticipated repairs at the well pump at Town Hall. So they're totally unanticipated, so in order to just get them through the rest of the year, they needed a transfer from contingency. The second one is for $5,130, it's going to the Lake Management Advisory Team. They're doing some additional testing on the water as well as, you know, their contract is not based on the fiscal year, so there was like another spring testing and payment that would have warrant of another transfer, so we're just trying to bring the budget in line so that we can get through the rest of the year without another transfer. And then the last one is another, contingency transfer of $2,000 to get startup costs for the Columbia Garden Beautification Fund. There's a bunch of volunteers who are gotten together to work on the grounds and the gardens and just maintain those gardens, so they need to be able to buy plants and supplies, if that's what this is for. Plus, they're also, just so you know, they're planning their own, just fundraising to help keep the fund going. Those are the three.
Need a motion to accept the transfers as presented? During a second, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Very nice. Very good. All right, I can have a motion to propose this, budget presentation process and, move this to a FiPAC meeting. All in favor? Oh. We're good, so we're done.
We're good. Till next week.
Well, we're gonna stay, finance is gonna stay, we're gonna go over some of the numbers, discuss some things among ourselves.
It really comes to me, it's not a tribal meeting, he's right, it's present the guests at your meeting,
Right,
so your meeting's still going.
okay.
Yes.
They can leave.
Anybody that matters for finance, can be, we're staying. Well, all the meetings are tough. We've got some really tough questions, so, do we have any ideas on where we're going here? I mean, it sounds like we're kind of, they need a lot of money. And, you know, how do we present this to the citizens? You know, it's always been my purview to try and say the citizens, looking at the tax increases, at the proposed mill rate going down, gets pretty hefty. You get to a house that's $1 million and it's $700, so you're almost at $2,500 a year income. Yeah, 13% mill rate is a lot. Like, in history, there are coming off a couple of years zeros. And that's that could only be the first of many steps. And then increases if we get 5 culverts replaced and HVAC, you know, you're talking about, believe it, some of those could be 12, 14. So it's just something we want to look at and we want to, we can't really buy it down. To be prepared for community. Right. Right, I think that's. So.
Well, I don't, you know, the roads and the people understand.
It's in their face, it's under their feet, they're gonna feel it, they're gonna see it. Phone call, they don't understand. No. One thing we have to remember is that there is a fund, and even this percentage increase, it goes out factoring in fund money. So it's not gonna be the fair. I mean, also, I want to say that I thought both Bob and Mark did an outstanding job of presenting their budget and the reasons for it. And these are decisions we have to make on the road. I'm not comfortable with the 5% increase overall, and I don't know if we can. We have been able to cut it, I've been on 5,000 for over a decade, and every year we got something from the budget. So we gotta look at that. That's part of the process. We have to go through that. Oh, I agree. I agree. I'm not.
We were able to reduce the Board of Education budget, they were intractable, and
Yeah,
then,
town budget reduced by 100,000.
so that may be again the same situation. And I don't know the town, I mean, it doesn't sound like there's any fluff in their budget.
It doesn't like the, any fluff at all, in any budget this year. Anyway,
And again, I think it's important not to raise the fund this year. We can't raise the fund this year because we're gonna have debt service, we're gonna have potential expenses with the culvert.
well, we have.
If there is that, if we
You might be right.
but that's an option that we need to look at when we go through it.
Well, you know, going forward, your option, Dick, are you know, what kind of number would you want to raise the home for? I mean, are you talking half a mil or a mil, you know, or less? Or do we go back to, the board and say, geez, you know, you know, like to cut it instead of 3.5, we want to bring it to 2.5. You know, what could you do to help us get to that 2.5?
I'm hoping we have more information about HVAC before we finish the budget process.
Okay.
But we'll see. I'm hoping, but I'm not optimistic. But these are things that we have to look at as we go along. And, I'm hoping we can factor in that and make a decision. But we're gonna have some really difficult decisions.
Okay. Any other comments, Stephen? I mean, you
Call, we go. It's on my mind. And absolutely, it's definitely on my mind. It's, you know, you can't go forever 0% increases.
I know that. I don't expect it to.
You know, the 100-year of water rainstorms and tomorrow, Saturday, we got another 3 inches coming. You know, what's gonna happen? Do we have a layout on the culvert? Of which things we want to attack and what order? And what, you know, in what time frame? Because that might help us.
So can I address that, Mr. Chair? I don't know if the citizens understand. I get numerous phone calls every week about their basement, their road, their driveway.
I don't, yeah, really good.
So I get that. But let me tell you, for the last 2 months, after every rainstorm, probably prior to every rainstorm, I travel the town, I look at the swales, I look at the piping and stuff. It is an absolute, in my opinion, there are answers to some of these problems without breaking it down to 0 and building it back up. I'm not an engineer. And I have a difference of opinion than a few others in the town, but we're putting together an engineering committee of volunteers, of citizens, to get an impartial look at some of the culverts and stuff. There's about 12 or 13 of them. I don't think any of them are truly ready to wash away. They're not, they'll hold up. They may get flooded over if we continue to get rid of them. And they're a nuisance. They're not gonna wash away. If the water subsides after a big storm, they'll be passable. But we're looking for answers that they don't flood, like adding other piping. Or, and I'm looking for our Department of Public Works, which we brought on new personnel to be able to work equipment that we've purchased. And we're looking at good contractors, like at Hunt Road. We've got a good deal with that, but we took a chance on a young firm with a long history of experience with family and employees and stuff. But a young, new team heading that thing, and I think they're doing a great job. And it's been a very good partnership. So if we need something torn down from grassroots and built up, I think we've got a good report, and we'll get an honest bid when it comes time. But I think there are answers there that we don't have to tear up an entire road and redo stuff. We may have to dig up some piping and lay down some new stuff of larger capacity, dig bigger swales, reroute things. But I don't see it as the apocalypse. Have we had biblical rains? I think we have. If you don't have blueprints for an ark, you better get them, okay? But I don't know if it's gonna continue, and if it doesn't, if we kind of get a weather pattern where we have more than normal 20 years ago rains, that's fine. But if it's catastrophic rains, we're still gonna have flooding, but we're trying to take care of it. I don't think the $15 million price tag to take care of 6 of them is going to, that's a dart on, wow, it's gonna be 10 to $15 million. I don't think so. I really don't. I think there's other answers out there. But we got work ahead. So I'm not in a hurry. We're putting together engineering plans to come up with answers, some guidance and stuff. I'm not in a hurry to go out and bond for 10 culverts to fix them. And come up with another $500,000 payment every year to do that. We're not. But we're not wearing blinders either. The HVAC thing, yeah, you're right. I apologize. We probably should have put it in there and said we need a line item. What if we actually get this grant and we go forward with this? I know it's probably been brought up, but okay, we screwed up. I should be in there somewhere, because if we get it and we move forward quickly, like they go to work in the middle of the summer, or they notify us that we can have the electrical panel started in April, May, June timeframe. We're gonna have to pay for it.
The 1 year out of electrical equipment.
But the bottom line is, we should plan for it. Because from all what people are saying, we probably have a pretty good shot at getting the grant. And if we don't have a grant, it may be mandated anyway by Hartford. There was something that the legislature, that put something out this year, they were voting on it. Everybody in the wording says stuff like, everybody has a right to clean water and air and this and that. And they kind of outline, I don't know if the legislators voted on it, but that's the pattern. So we better prepare for it.
If the HVAC grant goes through and it's before we vote or set this budget, regardless of the severity of these culverts, would we in some way try to bundle that if we we're going to bond and try to do that?
I don't know,
Or just totally favor the culvert, what altogether?
And Pine Street might go forward. That's not the first one.
and yet I still have answers, I still have questions.
I'll set the meeting.
So there's possibility, I guess, maybe, right?
Yeah,
So it seems like we're in a hard spot because I feel like Mark and Barbara, in good faith, gave the best budgets they could on best available information. And then, depending on HVAC, then even some virtual lot, even with culvert. So we could, like, to Dick's point, we can look to cut the budget down. But this could make it worse before it gets better, so to speak, right? Because we're gonna be tacking on more even before we look to reduce the budget.
yeah, I mean, you can say, can you look at cutting it $100,000 on the board of selectmen side? Oh, I can look all I want. It's nickel dime, I'll get you $12. You know what I mean? I'll get you 3,000, I'll get you $5,000.
It's gonna be $500,000.
I mean, I stood here in December and I said, this is gonna be of the year. It's gonna be bad. I'm telling you, it's gonna be bad. Well, it's worse than I even thought.
I guess that was my point of suggestion is the 5.4% with whatever we come up with could end up being even worse.
Yeah.
Depending on bonding and grading.
Right. Yeah, by another mill. We could actually be asking for 4.5.
And if you do bonding, it's the cost of getting the bond, it's not great.
No, it's like $70,000 to $100,000.
So that, so you want to bond everything at once rather than.
I understand that. I don't know if the engineers will be able to provide us an answer to our worst culverts. Not all of them have to be replaced. Honestly, I don't know how many. My guess is fewer than we think. I think there's answers. I figured pipes, lay a third pipe under the road.
Can we defer the HVAC?
I don't know.
If the grant is grant for the grant.
Depending upon action.
At this time, unless they change the rule.
So we're gonna have to go get bonding
Can you
for
pay
you
that
guys.
down?
No.
Even then, 6 months later, you have to get bond.
Rolling.
So, and you're right, what I would do is, I guess we would really think about if going out to the bond for the HVAC, adding X amount of dollars to do the whole thing, because there are culverts out there that could use replacement. Okay, so we would probably add to that and go for a one-time bond.
But can you do that when you really don't have it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, say that.
We're over.
Well, that's when they gotta, they gotta get a engineering report.
Yeah. That's why we asked for $250,000 for engineering to get out there and start this stuff. That's why I'm putting together a committee in town of seasoned engineers that have offered to help. To tell me, so they can go out there and look at it and go, Stephen, you're right, or Stephen, you're, stay in your own lane, because you know nothing about engineering. It needs to come out all together. Yeah, so, I'd like the answer sooner than later, believe me. I thought budget used to be the best time of the year, because we could, really, because we could do what we think is right for the people of this town. And really handle the money where you look at the track record, we rarely raise taxes. And this year, well, we're still take it personally. I mean, it's gonna be a 4 or 5 mil rate under my watch. Man, I take it personally. Every year we're gonna get a clean budget. I know we do, I know the Board of Education. But that's a very good thing to do. So. We'll have to get started and take a look at it. We do have some time before you have to put this whole thing together. And we'll work together,
Can you send us a revision to your proposed budget with the added HVAC and bond?
Yes, we certainly could do that, but I don't know if we're bonding for our 48%. I don't know if we have to bond for the whole thing of the HVAC. But we don't have to.
They have to get it back at the end.
Yeah.
So we have to
Yeah, right.
bond the whole
Yeah.
thing.
We don't have to cost it, so we don't even know how much to put in as a bonding amount.
But how do you pay it? We put in for a bond for $6 million and we get the bond, and then they give us, you just told me we can't pay it off.
Unless you renegotiate, that's not how the project, you have to negotiate a bond, but. Except for the one.
We're about to go up with an RFQ for municipal advisor, which would advise on, so that there's 3 firms we're going out to right now.
I will keep you posted the day after something comes in, okay? Whatever it is, you'll be fine. Any other questions, discussion? No?
Jeff, can we, since the public hearing is on the 24th, we can have special meetings right up.
Yes, we. Well, we. Yes.
No. I think if you look at the schedule, it's by charter.
And you have to give enough notice.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
There's a schedule based on the charter, and you said, it's in your packet.
I can see it.
Tuesday, May.
Yes, you can see the actual deadline.
Well, that's just, it has to go out on the 8th, but the public hearing is on the 24th, so
Probably
we could have.
postpone the meeting first.
No, we
You
can,
postpone the annual meeting, you only got really a week. 2 weeks changes because the.
I was asking, could we delay it? That's what we're looking at. I'm sorry, I turned over here and I said, if we had to, could we push that town meeting?
Yeah.
And they said no, because of the town charter. Now we're looking at, we could push it a week or 2 years. It's done.
You know, we have to have a public hearing.
First Tuesday, May,
Give enough notice to all the.
so 2 weeks before that is.
Look at it over the week and then come back.
You also give me enough time to advertise, and you have those windows, to give you notices that are 10 days.
But can we meet on a different day? I mean, could we have two meetings in 1 week?
Sure.
So would that be something to be up to, 2 meetings in 1 week?
Absolutely, I'll make money if I need to, I just. We may not be able to accomplish much in early April, but we might be able to accomplish more if we skip some of the early ones and just push them later. We don't have to decide that now, we have time, we have next week.
Nice is if you get a response from the state. Then you get, and then we get some kind of information on the engineering. So
Don't think we can get all the way.
That's a lot of hits.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that's- yes.
I think we're gonna have to go forward with the hits. We're not gonna have those numbers, and we've got to come down to something solid that they can work with. When it comes to.
And Stephen and
Yep.
Mark, is there any chance of change in revenue from state legislation or anything on the horizon that we're worried about them reducing, like the car tax that this year? Not right now.
7 years.
I haven't heard anything drastic. Nobody's gleaning from CCM that we're spacing some big cuts. So I'm not concerned at this moment. Car tax is always, but we're under that cap anyway right now. The car tax will affect us.
And there's no other legislation that might increase grants or anything that you guys know about? Please give me your
No. I'm just gonna, let me just.
There is another firm we're gonna bring in and talk to. They actually help with the search for grant.
they're paid out of the grant if they get it, they don't get it.
So we picked up their contact at a cost in the meeting. Steve and I were just at, so we're gonna bring them in as well.
But nothing legislative that's good or bad.
We have not heard it. We have not heard it.
There's nothing that we're worried about.
No.
Correct.
They are, well, usually worry about that.
Next.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Come back next week.
Motion to adjourn. I move we adjourn.
All in favor?
And we adjourned at 8:28.
Next, meeting, next week, 3/27.
Be in the conference zone. We'll be at the conference.